It is Monday night, March 18th, 2024. This is a special live edition, breaking news edition of Baseball Today, presented to my friends over at Factor. That, once again, is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, along for the ride as well. It's over. It is over. Blake Snell has a home. He is staying in the National League West, moving up from San Diego to San Francisco. He gets a 2-year deal, reportedly worth $62 million. John Heyman of MLB Network and the New York Post, the first to report it. He also reportedly has an opt-out after season 1. Is this about what you expected after months and months of negotiations?
This is a lot like the TV show Lost. Maybe the TV show should have had an opt-out after season 1. I was sick of this, Chris. And just like the ending of that TV show was kind of to me. And I don't mean that in a bad way to Giants fans. I'm very excited for them. In fact, I think it makes their team like way more formidable than they were just an hour ago or whenever this news broke. So I'm very happy for them, and it's great for them. But the deal itself is like, I put this out on Twitter. Were there 30 deals like this and he just got to pick where he wanted to go? Because if there weren't, I mean, I guess there's a couple teams that I talked about that are probably out on him because of the competitive balance tax thresholds, the self-imposed ones that I'll continue to talk about until the end of time. A couple of those teams were never going to be in the running for him. I understand that. But there should have been 15, 20 offers to him like this. He should have been able to pick where he wanted to go. And maybe that's the case. I'm hoping that's the case, Chris. But this deal is, it's kind of crazy. Like, good for the Giants for getting him for this type of money.
Yeah, listen, I understand what you're saying. Like, for a team like the New York Yankees, had they dipped into this pool, it would have cost them more than $90 million for this same deal because of the tax situation. The Houston Astros reportedly balked at this sort of deal because it would have put them over the second tax threshold. So whatever, those are there for a reason. And if teams don't want to go over it, even if you're getting a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, that's your business. That is your call. I am surprised that more teams that are certainly in the area competitively as the San Francisco Giants didn't go do this. I mean, I did feel, I have to admit, Plouffe, and I've said this several times in the offseason on this show, I felt like his deal was not as simple as some other guys who have won awards have been in the past, because he won it in 2018 and he won it last year. And those middle 4 years, they weren't disastrous, but they weren't very good either. I don't think he pitched more than 130 innings in any of those 4 seasons, 2019 through 2022. One of them was a pandemic season, but you get the point. And then there were times throughout his career that Blake Snell could go a month without seeing the 6th inning. And so having to pay a guy, well, hold on, don't roll your eyes at me.
I'm not at you. I promise. This is about baseball in general, but go ahead. Sorry.
But all I'm saying is that if you're going to pay a guy $200 million or $180 million, you want to make sure that he is top of the line dude that can at very least give you bulk innings. And I felt like probably some teams weren't.
I'm stopping. I'm stopping you. You just had Chris Bassett tell you that teams don't like. It's funny because they value innings and they value guys that can give them starts, but they're prioritizing stuff. Who's got better stuff than Blake Snell?
Nobody. Virtually nobody.
So where's the common ground there? If you're going to fault the guy because he's not giving you enough bulk innings, but he's got this stuff that you're looking for, like, where's the common ground there? Like, that's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing. Like, dude, like, if you want high-end talent, strikeout, swing and miss stuff, there's no one better than Blake Snell in the game.
I'll agree with you 100% there. And you're right to point that out. And what he's talking about is Chris Bassett on the latest edition of the Rose Rotation did talk about, it was 10 or 15 years ago where the league started prioritizing stuff over stats. And you're right about Blake Snell. I mean, there are a few guys you would choose ahead of him when you're talking about having a stuff draft. I guess, right?
Yeah, look, I'm happy for him. I think let's go back to like the positive side of this. Let's talk about like what it means for Blake and the Giants. I think this came down to, and maybe he did have a bunch of different offers. The Giants, to me, now that I'm kind of putting it together on the human aspect of it, I believe his wife is pregnant. They're from Seattle, so the closest place is San Francisco. If it's not, well, I guess Oakland technically, but if it's not Oakland or Seattle, like, The San Francisco is an hour flight or an hour and a half flight away. Logistically, it makes sense in a time where he's going to want to spend as much time with his family as possible. He says, "Hey, babe, I can opt out after the first year. Like, let's get through this. This is going to be like the best case scenario for our family right now." And the Giants reap the benefit of that, of their location. So this is, I think this makes a lot of sense for him. If he was being told, "Hey, the qualifying offer is killing us. The slot international draft money or slot money is killing us." Like, if he was being sold that and saying, if you came back out into the market next year without those tags on you, then we could probably get those deals that you want. This makes a lot of sense for him because of where he's at in his life right now.
And because he's going to be pitching for the guy who managed him the last 2 years in Bo Mel.
And maybe he'll fall in love with San Francisco. Like, there's
Maybe.
been a lot of pitchers that fall in love with San Francisco, Chris.
Totally. Yeah. And by the way, you've got the top 2 finishers in last year's Cy Young voting on the same staff now. Now, the Giants are not perfect, okay? But for a team like for the first 2 months of the offseason, we were like, what are the Giants doing? Like, they brought in Bo Mel, but anything else? Well, since then, Jung-Ho Lee, they brought him over. He was the first one. They brought Jordan Hicks. They're going to give him a shot at the rotation because they're down a bunch of arms. Matt Chapman just signed. Jorge Soler is going to give him some pop. Are they going to top the Dodgers in the National League West? No. Have they given themselves a much better shot at being 4, 5, or 6? Absolutely, they have.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. They want to be a playoff team.
Right.
And if you put where their rotation could be at the end of the year, and we're talking Logan Webb, Blake Snell, we're talking if we'll see what Harrison, what he does. Like, he could be absolutely nasty. We got to see it though, right? But you got Ray coming back, you got Alex Cobb coming back. Like, let's just say we had Webb, Snell, and like an efficient Robbie Ray. Like, that's terrifying for a 1-2-3 in a short series. Like, they're putting themselves in position now to be in real contention, and I'm stoked for them. Like, the Padres and the Giants have just kind of come on all of a sudden, where we were not giving them any credit, and we were saying, "What happened? What happened?" You're right. With I put a tweet out today, or just now, February 17th. Giants had signed Lee and brought in Hicks and traded for Ray, but those were kind of like, okay, they still haven't got their guy yet, or got one of the big free agents. And now we get Soler, Chapman, and Snell, and it's like, you got to be so happy as a Giants fan. You got to be so happy.
Trevor, I'm wondering if at some point we have, as a baseball community, have to start looking at deals a little bit differently. And what I mean by that is, I know the sport's entirely different because the NFL, your salaries for the most part are not guaranteed, right? We just went through free agency last year in that last week in that sport, and guys would sign. You're looking at the guaranteed dollars, which, if it's 50% of a new deal, then they're happy with that. I'm curious when it comes to pitching, if teams are just going to say, this is the blueprint moving forward, folks. There aren't going to be 7 or 8 or 9-year deals for guys. We're going to go 4 or 5. Now, this is a little bit different, and it does get clouded with the compensation, the picks that you could lose and the slot money that you can lose, all that sort of stuff. So that's where it gets a little sticky. But I am wondering if more and more teams are going to say, hey, listen, we'll give you 4 and a huge number. We're not going 6 or 7. We're just not going to do it. You're 30, 31 years old. I can't do it anymore.
Honestly, I think it just depends on the owner and where they're at, as a franchise. I mean, we've seen different teams do different things. Now, I agree with you, like baseball as a whole, if you were to talk about how they view pitching right now, yeah, like we're not going to be giving out these long-term deals. There's been, I don't know, I feel like there's just always a slew of injuries on the pitching front. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier with them prioritizing stuff over pitching per se. There's going to be something, man. The owners and the players association are so far apart on like core fundamental issues about contracts and payroll that, like, I don't honestly know where there is a bridge to be had.
Mm.
Like you always talk about, can there be a signing period like we have in these different sports? And I don't think baseball wants that, because the PA believes that's will put players in a position to make rash decisions, and the teams will use that and kind of just say, you know what, we'll still wait until like the end of this signing period to put guys into a pressurous situation where they make decisions maybe they wouldn't make before. So that's how they feel. The owners, have their view, and it's like we're just bashing our heads against each other with this right now. So something has to give. And Chris, I don't know what it will be, because neither side wants to give in.
Yeah, I don't. It was funny because at the beginning of the offseason, Snell was ranked as, Ohtani was his own category, but he was ranked probably 2, 3, 4, however you want to say it, in terms of free agents available. And for him to get a 2-year deal with 1-year opt out, it is stunning. It really is stunning, I think. And I imagine very disappointing for baseball players, because they probably say, what do guys have to do, right? He's won 2 Cy Young awards. He's been reasonably healthy throughout his career. He's left-handed, and he's freaking filthy. So what else? I am shocked he did not get 9 feet. I'm shocked.
Do you think the Midwest farmers like this deal, or is this a little too pricey?
Well, it is 31 million AAV.
Chopped
So
down.
I don't know if Miles Michaelis and his little St. Louis Cardinals can operate in that territory.
You just call them the little St. Louis Cardinals?
Jokingly.
Oh my God. Clip that.
Jokingly, I did. So before we wrap things up here, do we honestly think that the Giants have enough to compete? They're obviously better, but as we look at them right now, is this a team that we'll still be talking about in the middle of September?
I think so. Yeah. Even before this signing, I still would have said, yeah, I think so, because they've shown the willingness to go out and try to get guys. It hasn't been short of them trying to bring in talent, right? They just haven't been able to land the big fish. That tells me they're an organization that's hungry to get better. They've brought in guys. They've made moves. Now, a lot of it's contingent on the health of some starters coming back. But like the lineup, go look up and down through the lineup. It's average to above average major league hitters throughout the lineup. Okay, that's just what it is. So like you're gonna get some consistent production offensively, and now pitching staff just got better. Like I said, by the end of the season, we could be talking about a really, really nice starting pitching staff with depth. And so, yeah, man. And for that reason, I'm in on the Giants.
I know we both like Gabe Kapler. I do think that Bo Mel's going to make a difference out there too. That's my personal stance. I think that he is. I do believe he's an upgrade in the dugout. I think that too could make a difference for them. I don't know how much, but I do think it'll make a bit of a difference. And some people say, well, what sort of difference did he make with the Padres last year? I get it. You can have that. The year before, he might have made a huge difference in helping them get to the NLCS. Let me ask you this.
There's different personalities on this Giants team than the Padres team.
Yes, 100%.
And Bo Mel is used to working with the A's, who had the personalities that weren't established, boisterous, if you will.
Yeah. Do you think Blake Snell would have signed for 9 figures had Scott Boras not been his agent?
That's funny. No, I don't think this is a Boras thing. I see that on social media, like people are not doing business with Scott Boras. I don't buy that. I think what we're seeing now is a lot of teams running their internal metrics on contracts and projections. A lot of them come out the same, which is interesting to me. But I just think we're transitioning into how these teams, are valuing players. Yeah. So to answer your question, I don't think it was a Scott Boras thing. I don't.
I can't.
Do you?
No, I don't think that they're saying, well, let's stick it to Scott Boras's clients. I do think that there is a an enormous gap between what Scott Boras thinks his people are worth and what the baseball world thinks.
I can get
But
on board with that.
But I am okay. I will say this: I think there's a little bit of maybe truth about the Scott Boras stuff, only because Jordan Montgomery's still a free agent. If Snell was the last one, what? Seriously?
No, I'm just saying we haven't even talked about Jordan Montgomery because why would we? Because we never talk about Jordan Montgomery. Maybe now we will because Snell is gone.
Well, don't you think he'll be signed quickly now? Now that there's kind of a blueprint for a guy, a little bit.
Do you think he's happy with this deal? He's like, what? I waited this whole time and this is what we got?
Are you talking Snell or Montgomery?
Montgomery.
Yeah, I think
if you're saying this is the blueprint,
I imagine
Montgomery's
extremely confused. He's extremely confused because he's probably wondering what baseball values. A guy who pitches every 5 days, a guy who has steadily improved over each of the last 4 seasons, a guy who is a postseason hero. He must be sitting there saying, well, what do people want then? I mean, so I don't know. Kike Hernandez uttered the big C word, collusion.
Don't be putting words in my mouth, Chris.
What?
You already did that earlier today with Ollie Marmol.
I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm saying he did. He said it on foul territory, so that's okay. He brought it up that he intimated that there was that possibility.
It's not like it hasn't happened before, people.
I know, and I will. Can we just finish it with this? I know we say this every time there's a deal, a good one or a bad one. If fans are like, well, good, I'm happy that he only got $62 million. Are you really? Because the money saved goes into the billionaires' pockets that you would never even watch throw one single pitch in your backyard. You wouldn't even open your sliding glass door to go watch an owner throw a pitch. But I'll tell you this, I sure as hell would pay some money and go watch Blake Snell do his thing. So I would prefer if he got more money because he is entertaining us. And he certainly entertains us. He's going to go from, he would always join Mud and Don Orsillo, like once every other week with the broadcast. He'd throw the headsets on and talk to them during the game. I hope he does the same thing with Kruk and Kipe because I think that would be really entertaining.
I'm sure he would. And you know what? Is Silicon Valley still a thing? I think it is.
Yeah,
Snell's probably going to make some relationships and
totally
get into something. Look, the sky's the limit for this guy. If you're a Giants fan, be very happy about the kind of person that he is. I know him on a personal level. He is not going to get in trouble. He's going to be a good example for your community. I'm serious, Chris. I'm looking at him, staring at him right now in a Giants uniform. He looks good in it.
Does.
I could see 100% him being like, you know what? This is pretty good.
Yeah. Hope it works out for him. You have a guess where Jordan Montgomery goes now? Just give me a guess before we get out of here.
Back to the Rangers?
Yes. That is exactly it.
Yeah.
That is the correct answer, I think.
The Rays could have gotten Snell. Hey, I do want to say before we leave, can I have your hands? Give me your hands. Dan, you don't talk, but just give me your hands as well. Okay. We all pray to different gods. So whoever your God is, let's just say a prayer up to your God. Please let Yohan Duran's oblique heal and he'll just be fine. It's just a minor thing. And the Twins will have him for most of the season. Thank you.
Oh, not amen. I'm not rooting for injury. I want him to be healthy too, but
you didn't pray for that?
No, because that's not that important in the grand scheme of praying.
You can pray for anything. Healed oblique is definitely something you can pray for. Closer.
So wait a second. Where do you draw the line? Sprained ankle you don't pray for?
If my closer's going to miss 4 weeks because of it, I'll pray for it.
Oh, my God.
Get out of it. You know what?
I
thought we were friends.
We are friends. I just prayed for somebody's strained oblique. That's where we are?
He's out right now. We need this guy.
Out of all the things in this world with war and famine and everything else going on, I had to pray
Chris,
for
it's not the only thing it's not the only thing I pray for. Hey, guess what else I pray for? You and your family. And you know what? Maybe not tonight, Chris.
Wow. Okay. I hope he's okay. Special shout out to Dan Rourke. I mean, he hustled home. I don't know what he was doing. He's like, I need 20 minutes, brah. So I don't know. Rourke, where were you? You want to tell us? Oh, okay. That's right. That's what happens. You hit walk-offs against Jimmy O, and then all of a sudden you just go lift. I see you. Has your life changed because of that home run?
Okay, this is great.
Oh, okay. Nobody else can hear.
Way to ruin the show, Chris.
Sorry, my bad. All right, listen, we are done. That'll do it. Special live edition, Blake Snell, 2 years, $62 million with an opt-out to the San Francisco Giants. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and the uber-talented and praying for Duran's oblique, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Wednesday morning on Baseball Today, presented to you by Factor.